Hi there, this is Ranjit and I have this Nexus 6P with me, and in this video we'll be doing the full in-depth review for this Nexus 6P. And I have been using this Nexus 6P as my primary smartphone for 17 days before producing this review. And in the later part of the video I'll also share the pros and cons with this device. And before we continue, let me give you a configuration overview. This Nexus 6P is powered by the Snapdragon 810 chipset, which is an octa-core processor divided into two quad cores. The powerful quad core is clocked at 2 GHz based on the ARM Cortex A57 architecture, and the other quad core is clocked at 1.55 GHz, that's based on the ARM Cortex A53, and it's an octa-core chipset. It has the Adreno 430 GPU, 3GB of RAM, a 5.7-inch Quad HD display, that's an AMOLED display with Gorilla Glass 4 protection. It also has 32 or 64GB of storage available in India. The model that we have is 32GB, and it has USB-C type port, a 12.3 megapixel rear facing camera, a 8 megapixel front facing camera, and a 3450 milliamp hour battery. So here I have the Nexus 6P. And it's a very fast device. Again, the 6P, actually the P stands for premium. We also have the Nexus 5X, which is mostly made up of plastic, but this one, as you can see, is mostly made up of metal. This is aluminum and this is metal, and obviously the front is glass. It has a Gorilla Glass 4, and I have to say it feels very premium in the hand. It does not feel cheap. When you hold it, it feels that you are holding a premium device, but definitely it's a big device. As you can see, it sports a 5.7-inch screen, which is actually a Quad HD screen, and the screen quality is very good. I'll talk about the screen later on. Viewing angles are nice. It's an AMOLED screen that is actually made by Samsung. So in terms of looks and feel, again, looks are obviously a personal preference, but I feel it's a very good looking device and certainly feels very premium in the hand. It gives a solid feel. Now moving to UI and stuff, again it runs on stock Android experience, and out of the box obviously it comes with the latest version of Android, that is Marshmallow. Already the 6.0.1 update has also started rolling out, and I should be getting it within a day or so. So that's the beauty of a Nexus device. You obviously get the latest Android update. Regarding storage, it comes in two variants, 32GB or 64GB. I have the 32GB variant, and again it's okay for me. As you can see, I still have quite a bit, I just used about 7GB of space, so I have a lot of space available still. So again, if you are a person who likes to store a lot of videos, music, etc. on your device, it would be better to go with the 64GB variant, because as it's a Nexus device, it does not have any micro SD card slots, so the storage is what you get. But in general usage, I have to say it runs on the Snapdragon 810 chipset, and I have to say it is a very, very, very fluid device. One of the most fluid Android device that I have used. It loads the apps, etc. very quickly. Even switching between the apps is very fast experience. As you can see, I'm loading so many tweets, then also it's loading it very quickly. You can also switch between the apps very quickly, and this is a third-party app that I'm using. This is Glovebox, but as you can see, it switches between the apps also very quickly. It's one of the most fluid Android device that I have used. I haven't noticed any issues of lagginess or anything like that. Now moving to the speakers, it actually has dual firing speakers, and they are actually very good. Let me actually demonstrate using YouTube, and this is Moto G Turbo video.
This product is actually very similar to the Moto G third
As you can see,
generation,
it's loud,
but Motorola has actually
and the
changed
viewing angles are
chips
also
there.
extremely good thanks to that AMOLED screen. As you can see, even if you move to extreme angles, the video will not fade. So let me just get out. So in terms of the sound output is good, and it gives you that stereo effect. Now moving to the camera, the rear facing camera is a 12.3 megapixel shooter with dual LED flash, and I have to say the camera performance was very good. As you can see from the sample shots, the picture quality is actually very good, and even when we move to indoor lighting and artificial lighting, I would say the Nexus 6P excelled here, and it actually did a lot better compared to even the Note 5 in artificial lighting. But actually I do not like the default camera app that Google has provided. This is a stock camera app, but the functionality is actually very limited. And I would say if you want more control, you should install third-party camera apps like this A to Z that I have been using. And as you can see, you can get a lot better focus and manual controls using third-party camera apps. Even the front-facing camera performance was very good. In fact, you should watch the dedicated camera review that I posted for more info regarding the camera performance. Now moving to gaming, I did quite a bit of gaming also with this Nexus 6P, and I also played quite a bit of heavy games with this Nexus 6P, and for the most part I would say it handled most of the games fine. Even heavy games like Nova 3 ran fine, but with Asphalt 8 I noticed some minor lag at times, so you have to be aware of that. And it was only with Asphalt 8 that I noticed minor lag at times, so you have to be aware of that. But the good thing is that even with extended gaming after 15 minutes or so also, and playing heavy games like Nova 3, the phone did not exhibit any overheating issues. It touched just about 42 degrees Celsius, which is certainly warm but not very hot. Also, that brings me to another point. Many of you have asked me about the heating issues with this Nexus 6P because it runs on the Snapdragon 810 chipset. And I have to say, you don't have to be worried about heating issues. The handset does not heat. Yes, it gets slightly warm at the back, but it does not heat up. The maximum temperature that I've noticed was about 42.5 degrees Celsius while using the device. So yes, it can get a bit warm, but it does not exhibit any overheating issues. So what do I feel about this Nexus 6P? To make it easier, let's break it down between the pros and cons. And I've made a list when I was testing this device. So let's go over that. And let's first start with the cons, or the things that I did not like on this Nexus 6P. And the first thing is regarding the screen. Don't get me wrong. The screen quality is actually very good. It's a Quad HD screen. It's a very sharp screen, and it's actually made by Samsung. It's an AMOLED screen. But again, if we start comparing it with the AMOLED screen on the Note 5, I feel the AMOLED screen on the Note 5 is slightly better in terms of colors. The whites are slightly on the yellowish side on this Nexus 6P. Don't get me wrong, you won't notice it, but I have the Note 5. If you compare it side by side, I would give slight edge in the screen to the Note 5. But again, the screen quality is still very good. It's an AMOLED screen. The colors look very punchy. Next thing is regarding the size. It's a very long device if you notice, due to this front firing speakers. So if you have small hands, then this device might not be for you, and definitely it's a two-handed device. Next is regarding the chamfered edges. Yes, it looks really cool and it looks really nice, but you have to be extra careful because one of my friends also has this Nexus 6P and he dropped it twice, and now he has his nasty nick mark on this chamfered edges. I also had the iPhone 5s, so and I also had some nick marks on that. So you have to be careful with the chamfered edges, and if you're a sort of a clumsy person, I would suggest get a bumper case. Next is that this Nexus 6P does not have any wireless charging. We actually had wireless charging on the Nexus 5 and even the Nexus 6. So it's sad to see that we don't have any wireless charging support on this Nexus 6P. Now there is also one more minor bug that I've noticed. This might be due to Marshmallow, but I've been using this phone as my primary phone for the last couple of weeks, and I was traveling. I traveled to Delhi and even to Mumbai. Though the phone worked fine and the mobile data also worked fine, but when I was in roaming, it simply does not show us on which mobile data it was, for example on 3G or 4G. So I think so that's sort of a bug. Also, as it's a Nexus device, Android still does not have native support for split screen. So if you are expecting that, you won't find that on this Nexus 6P. Also, this Nexus 6P does not have any optical image stabilization, and I would say for the most part it does not matter because the pictures that you take are very good, but particularly if you shoot 4K video, if you move around, it can be a little bit shaky as it does not have any optical image stabilization. If you shoot video at 1080p, it's fine because it has electronic image stabilization, but we don't have that for 4K video, so you should be aware of that. So these were some of the cons of the Nexus 6P. Let's now move to the things that I really like on this Nexus 6P. First thing is regarding the charging. Yes, it has that new port, that is the USB-C type port, but still it supports fast charging. And if you charge the Nexus 6P with the supplied charger, this is actually a fast charger. it charges very quickly. I would say when I was at 10% battery life and I timed it, it could charge to 100% in about 84 minutes. So it charges very quickly. And I've also noticed that if you are on low charge, let's say around 10% or 15%, if you even just plug it in for about 15 minutes, it charges really quickly. So it does support fast charging. Also, regarding the fingerprint scanner, it has that fingerprint scanner, and I have to say the fingerprint scanner is very fast, one of the fastest that I've seen, and also it is very accurate. It hasn't missed, or whenever I just put my finger, it immediately unlocks. So the fingerprint scanner works very well. Next, regarding the general operations, I have to say this is one of the fastest Android devices that I've used. It's extremely fluid, and needless to say, it is the fastest Android device that I've used till date. Extremely fluid. Next, moving to the speakers, it has that front firing speakers and it's dual speaker, so it gives you sort of an immersive experience. Also, it does have a LED notification light. I really appreciate that. I am a sucker for LED notification light, and we have the LED notification light. But to take advantage of that, I would say it works by default, but the functionality is pretty limited by default. I would suggest that you use a third-party app called Lightflow to get the best out of the LED notification light. Now, moving to the battery, this one has a 3450 milliamp hour battery, which is actually sealed inside, and it has that massive quad HD display that is a 5.7 inch screen. And I was worried how would be the battery life, but the battery life that I'm getting on this Nexus 6P is above average if you consider and compare it to other devices having a quad HD screen. In terms of screen on time, I would say I could get a screen on time anywhere from 3 hours 50 minutes to almost 5 hours of screen on time with my regular usage over a full day. And even when I was completely on mobile data, as I told you, I was traveling a lot, so it was completely on mobile data. And for example, when I left my house at 6:30 in the morning and at night at 10:30, I still had about 20% battery life with completely on 3G and 4G data. So it can easily last for a full working day, and the battery life is actually much better compared to other devices having quad HD screen. For example, I also have the Note 5, and if we compare it with the Note 5, I would say with the Note 5 I was getting a screen on time of about 4 hours on an average, but with this one I could get about 4.5 hours. So the battery life is also pretty good considering that it has a quad HD display. Now, moving to the camera, again, the camera is actually surprisingly very good on this Nexus 6P. One of the best cameras that I have seen on latest smartphones, and certainly the best on a Nexus device. The rear-facing camera is a 12.3 megapixel shooter, and particularly it shines in artificial lighting and low lighting conditions. The pictures that I took with this one are actually very good. In fact, you should check out the dedicated video that I posted regarding the camera. Also, the front-facing camera is also surprisingly very good. So in terms of camera, the performance was actually so very good on the Nexus 6P. And now some of you have actually asked me, how is the cellular reception on this Nexus 6P? I'm using this Nexus 6P with my Airtel SIM, that is a 4G Airtel SIM, and had no problems regarding cellular connectivity or the cellular call quality. Both were actually very good. Even when I was roaming in Delhi and Mumbai, I did not face any issues regarding cellular connectivity. So at least with Airtel 4G here in India, I have no issues regarding cellular connectivity. Now, as it's a Nexus device, you don't have to be actually worried regarding Android updates. You will get them automatically and first. So if you are a person who likes to have the latest version of Android, then you can certainly have a look at this Nexus 6P. So as you can see, these were some of the pros and cons with the Nexus 6P. I would say the biggest con is the size of this device. So if you have small hands, this might not be for you. And also if you like split screen apps and stuff, that functionality is not there. But apart from that, I would say if you're looking for a stock Android experience and a very fast Android phone with good camera, you can certainly have a look at this Nexus 6P. And I have to say, this Nexus 6P is one of the best Android devices that I've used in 2015. Again, this device is available in India via Flipkart. I'll have the link for Flipkart in the show notes. So if you're buying, please use that link. It helps the channel. And I've also posted other videos on this Nexus 6P covering its various other aspects like its dedicated camera review, a gaming review, and even a frequently asked questions video. So again, make sure you check check them out. Again, I hope this video was helpful, and if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.